What's going on, guys? We got some breaking news today. It looks like the Supreme Court did what they should have done and voted 9-0, 9-0 to keep Trump on the ballot. No state can just say that they're not going to put him on the ballot, which that is protecting democracy, how they love saying it. Okay. Him being able to get taken off by whatever state decides to do so is absolutely blatantly against our Constitution, absolutely against everything that this country stands for. And it does the opposite of saving our democracy, even though we're not a freaking democracy. It's a constitutional republic, and it's a constitutional republic for a freaking reason, guys. Okay, so we're gonna get into it, but welcome, happy Monday. I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. We're gonna get today started off on the right note, guys. So just make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to that channel if you haven't already. All right, we're gonna hop right in. But we got this first thing here, and this is actually from NBC News. Okay, Supreme Court rules states can't kick Trump off the ballot. The Supreme Court on Monday handed a sweeping win to former President Donald Trump by ruling that states cannot kick him off the ballot over his actions leading up to January 6th attack on the Capitol, bringing a swift end to a case with huge implications for the 2024 election. In an unsigned ruling with no dissents, guys. And remember, there's a side of like 4 or 5 extremely Democrat Supreme Court judges in there. Okay, it's not like this is all just Republican judges. So that this could have easily, if they wanted to be, partisan, they could have voted. They could have voted no. They could have voted that they can, so it would have been a split decision. But for it to be so concrete, no dissents at all, it just shows you how blatantly against the Constitution this would have been if it was allowed to happen. In an unsigned blah, 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 the provision prohibits those who previously held government positions but later engaged in insurrection from running for various offices. The court said the Colorado Supreme Court had wrongly assumed that states can determine whether a presidential candidate or other candidate for federal office is ineligible. The ruling makes it clear that Congress, not the states, has to set rules on how the 14th Amendment provision can be enforced against federal office seekers. As such, the decision applies to all states, not just Colorado. States retain the power to bar people running for state office from appearing on the ballot under Section 3. Because the Constitution makes Congress, rather than the states, responsible for enforcing Section 3 against all federal office holders and candidates, we reverse, the ruling says. By deciding the case on that legal question, the court avoided any analysis or determination of whether Trump's actions constituted an insurrection. And guys, the reason why is because that's not what they were here to argue about. What the Supreme Court was determining was, is it legal for the state to just flat out say, nope, you can't be put on the ballot? Like, I don't understand where these states thought they could get away with this. Like, this is such blatant just criminality when it comes to our elections. I mean, this is like banana republic third world country type bullshit that we've been allowing, excuse my language. But, it's just, it blows my mind how we're even at this point. And we have a lot of people that are even saying how they think that he shouldn't even be on the ballot. That's what scares me the most. We have a lot of regular people that, obviously on the Democratic side, that would have loved to see him not be on the ballot. But they are not understanding what type of precedent that sets for the rest of our existence. And that's not something we want. We don't want to turn into Russia, where you have Vladimir Putin over here killing and locking up his political opponents. Allegedly. Let me put that in there. Allegedly. It just blows my mind, guys. It absolutely blows my mind. But let's get back over here to this article. Let's see. In addition to ensuring that Trump remains on the ballot in Colorado, the decision will end similar cases that have arisen. So far, only 2 other states, Maine and Illinois, have followed Colorado's path. Like the Colorado ruling, both those decisions were put on hold. In a statement, Colorado Secretary of State Gina Griswold acknowledged that the court ruled that states do not have the authority to enforce Section 3 of the 14th Amendment for federal candidates. In accordance with this decision, Donald Trump is an eligible candidate on Colorado's 2024 presidential primary. The Supreme Court decision removes one avenue to holding Trump accountable for his role in challenging the 2020 election results, including his exhortation that his supporters should march on the Capitol on January 6th when Congress was about to formalize Joe Biden's win. Trump is facing criminal charges for the same conduct. The Supreme Court in April will hear oral arguments on his broad claim of presidential immunity. The ruling warned of the dangers of a patchwork of decisions around the country that could send elections into chaos if state officials had the freedom to determine who could appear on the ballot for president. The result could well be that a single candidate would be declared ineligible in some states, but not others based on the same conduct, the ruling said. Although the bottom line vote was unanimous, there were some divisions on the court, which had a 6-3 conservative majority as to how the case was resolved. The three liberal justices, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, complained in a jointly written concurring opinion that the court has decided more than it needed to by laying out how Section 3 could be enforced by Congress. They said the decision could insulate Trump from future controversy, adding that the ruling shuts the door on other potential means of federal enforcement. Conservative Justice Amy Coney Barrett agreed that the court went further than required, although she did not join the liberal justice's opinion. Barrett said although she had some disagreements with the rationale, the liberals should not amplify disagreements in such a political charged case. All 9 justices agree on the outcome of this case. That is the message Americans should take home. And that's exactly what it is, guys. I mean, they definitely all agreed on the main thing. That's what they were ruling on. They obviously, when you have 3 different justices that aren't of the same political leaning, they're always going to put out, their thoughts and opinions on the decision that was jointly made with a unanimous decision, guys. Unanimous. See, I just don't understand. If Donald Trump did something if he did what they were saying that he did, inciting an insurrection, he actually, when he said we're going to march peacefully to the Capitol, he said peacefully and make our voices heard. Okay, that he said nothing about violence, nothing at all. And there's clip after clip after clip of Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, all these other ones saying we gotta fight, we gotta go to the streets and fight, we gotta riot, we gotta do all this stuff. They're the ones inciting violence. I just don't understand how they would even try to say what Trump said was inciting the insurrection when he never said, let's go and break into the Capitol and disrupt the proceedings. Not anything even close to that, guys. Not even close. So I'm very glad that the Supreme Court did what they were supposed to do when it came to this, because this was the only way. This was the only way that we are actually going to have an okay election. Not saying there's not going to be something fishy going on, because it seems like ever since 2016, there always seems to be something fishy going on with our elections, but it's not going to be enough. I think enough people are tired of this Biden administration and just tired of things being so grossly overpriced. Everything in this world is overpriced. I don't understand how, at least I'm in Arizona. So in Arizona, if you're making $50,000 a year, you cannot live on your own. You cannot get an apartment by yourself and survive. You just can't. It's impossible right now. It's impossible. And the thing that scares me is I think with this inflation, we'd have to see deflation to see prices really drop. We're not going to see that, guys. We're not going to see it. These are like the new normal. This is the new normal when it comes to pricing. And that's what makes me nervous, very, very nervous. And that's why we need to get under control now. You know what I mean? So we're going to go over here. We got this thing on Twitter from the post-millennial of Trump's reaction, okay, to the decision. It's about a 3-minute clip just going over exactly what his thoughts are on not just the verdict of what the Supreme Court did, but also talking to Biden and telling Biden what he needs to do with the border and just everything, how we need to stop going after political opponents, because that's not what we do in the United States. It is not. It's just not. You can go after them by like how Trump does. I mean, you can go after them, call them names, and say all this, but you cannot weaponize the justice system to go after your political opponents. That is what Russia does. That is what Vladimir Putin does. I just don't understand how everyone can't see that. Like, it just blows my mind. But we're gonna watch this, guys, and you tell me what you think about it.
That President Biden, number one, stop weaponization. Fight your fight yourself. Don't use prosecutors and judges to go after your opponent, to try and damage your opponent so you can win an election. Our country is much bigger than that. The other thing I say to President Biden, close the borders now. This is not sustainable for our country. It's not sustainable for our cities. Our country is under siege. This is a violent thing that you've done. And many people are dying. Many, many people are dying. They die on the trip up. They die going through the border. And they die in our country. But many of the people coming up are from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums. Many are terrorists. You see it. Many, many are terrorists. And I believe the real number that we have right now is probably closer to 15 million people. And by the time the term ends, I believe the president's term ends, I believe you'll be at close to 20 million people. That's almost larger than any state in the Union. Our country, it is not sustainable. Many of these people are tough. Many of these people are bad. They come from some of the roughest countries in the world and some of the roughest prisons. We have prisons in the Congo, in Africa, coming. We have people coming from all parts of the Middle East. They're coming from Yemen, and yet we're bombing Yemen. You have to stop. You have to close the border. You have absolute authorization. You don't need Congress. I had the safest border in the history of our country, and I didn't use Congress for it. And then I built hundreds of miles of wall, and the reason I built it and how I built it was I considered it an invasion of our country, and I took the money from the military, and the Army Corps of Engineers did it with me, and we did a great job. And we had the safest border we've ever had, and now we have the most unsafe border anywhere in the world at any time. There's never been a border like this at any country, anywhere in the world. They would have fought with sticks and stones to stop the horrible situation that's occurring. Our people can't stand it, and the people coming in really can't stand it because they're dying. Many are dying on the trip up, and they're dying in the country. And also, many of the people are criminals, and they're doing tremendous harm. I call it migrant crime. It's migrant crime. It's a new category of crime. They're hurting our country horribly, and we've become a laughing stock all over the world. So I say respectfully to President Biden, you have the authorization right now. I did it. I didn't go to Congress and say, do I have the right to close? I fought Congress on it. Close the borders. You can do it right now. You have everything. Use my policies. My policies were great. Everybody said it. Use my policies.
I'm telling you guys, like, he's exactly right. I mean, he's exactly right. I just don't understand why they were so adamant. I mean, I do understand. I know why. Because they wanted the Ukraine and Israel funding to pass. That's why they tried sneaking in a border bill, a border security bill. That was not no border security bill. It was just going to quicken the asylum claim process. And it's going to allow more and more people in. It would have cemented at least 5,000 a day. 5,000 a day would be allowed before any of the security measures they're talking about that were in there would even be triggered. Okay? Like, it just blows my mind. And Donald Trump's right. The president does. If it's an emergency, it's a national emergency. Like, that is something the president has the ability to shut down the ports of entry. We got to put a moratorium on immigration. Okay, at least until we can get it figured out and get legal immigration running better. Okay, because I do agree we need to revamp our immigration process. you know, especially for legal migrants that are coming through that they're paying the application fee, that are going through all the legal steps. We need those people to be processed quicker, not these stupid asylum seekers that aren't even, the vast majority of them are not seeking asylum. It is a lie. An economic asylum seeker is not a real asylum seeker. Okay, just because you can't make money where you're at does not mean that you can just come to the United States just to make a paycheck. It just blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind, guys. But I'm glad the Supreme Court did what it's supposed to do. That's exactly what we needed to hear the Supreme Court do. Because if we would have lost that, okay, and I'm an independent, I'm not a MAGA person at all. It's not even about Trump. Okay, it's about the policies and about how he acted as president during the last administration. Life was way better. The average middle-class American had over $5,000 more in their bank account than the previous administrations. Like, no new wars. The first president in my lifetime to not start a new war, guys. And I'm not old. I'm 31. But still, I mean, I've been around. I was too young for, the first George Bush, but I was young with Bill Clinton. And then obviously George W. Bush, and then you got Obama and that whole thing. Okay. Out of all those presidents, Donald Trump is the only one to not start a new war. Come on, guys. And now we're on the brink of World War III on 3 different fronts. Like, this is just insane. It's just insane. So I'm glad we were able to get over this. I hope you guys like the content today. It definitely something that the average person really needs to be aware that this is what happened, and really look at the details. Like, look at the articles on what they're reading or what they said about their decision. Like, it's blatant. This would have been one of the most egregious things against our Constitution if this was allowed to have states keep Trump off the ballot. Let the American voters vote. You know what I mean, guys? So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Have a blessed day. Have a good start to your week, and I'll see you on that next video.